Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. If you enjoying this fanfic then press the like button and subscribe my channel.
Let's start a new fanfic. Which is what if Itachi trained Naruto and he fell in love with Anko? Part 3. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this and comment for next part. And now let's start the fanfic. Everyone has their anger moments, Naruto Taicho. It's all right, Shino said. That's right. We'll always be behind you even if you are a scary super strong swordsman that gropes Haku and fondles Zabuza's crotch, Shikamaru said. That was your fault, Naruto yelled. However, Kiba, Choji, and Anko smiled as Naruto went back to normal. Other people began to chuckle too. The screen went through the remaining names. It stopped on 2. Naruto saw the names and grinned. Gaara smiled maniacally. He disappeared in a swirl of sand and reappeared at the arena. Lee jumped down after shouting for several minutes. He settled into a fighting stance. The 8th match between Gaara and Rock Lee began. Lee charged Gaara. He tried to kick Gaara but some sand that appeared out of Gaara's gourd blocked it. The sand regrouped and slammed into Lee, knocking him back. Sand. Lee thought. Hey Kit, Kyuubi said urgently. Hey long time no hear, Naruto said. Whatever. Anyway, I know which demon Gaara holds. Which one? Shukaku the Aikibi. He's extremely aggressive as he does anything to prove that he's a tailed beast. While the other demon lords are confident in their strength, Shukaku will do anything to keep his position. He was extremely paranoid before he vanished, Kyuubi said. Lee charged at Gaara again and again, using his fist and feet to try to harm Gaara. Gaara's sand blocked Lee's taijutsu attacks every time. Gaara didn't even move a finger. Why doesn't Lee use ninjutsu? Kiba asked. It's obvious none of his taijutsu attacks are working. I think it's because Lee can't use ninjutsu, Naruto answered. You're right, a voice beside them said. Naruto turned to see Guy and Tenten. Naruto's eyes bulged at the sight of Guy. You. Naruto pointed. Evil monkey style. What did I do? Guy asked. Every time I go to sleep, I hear you shouting in the next apartment. While you sleep, you shout about fountains of youth at the top of your lungs. Naruto ranted. Shino, Anko, Kiba, Shikamaru, Choji, and Tenten sweat dropped at this information. Guy grinned. But it is good to hear about fountains of youth, is it not my neighbor? Naruto socked Guy in the mouth with an uppercut. No it isn't. As Guy was nursing his mouth, the group watched the match with interest. Despite Lee's fierce taijutsu assault, he couldn't reach Gaara. Gaara tried to hit Lee. Lee made several flips back and jumped onto the statue of 2 hands. Lee take the off. Guy yelled. But Guy-sensei, you told me only when I need to protect my precious people, Lee protested. Guy gave him a thumbs up. Don't worry. I'll allow it this time. Lee smiled. He put a hand under his leg warmers and pulled out weights. Great. I can move normally now, Lee said. He dropped the weights on the ground. Some of the genins were skeptical of whether weights will help Lee in this match. They were stunned when the weights hit the ground. Boom. Lee vanished from everyone's sight except Naruto's, Guy's, and the Hokage's. Lee attacked Gaara with another taijutsu assault. This time, he landed an axe kick to Gaara's head. Kankuro and Tamiri were stunned. No one had managed to touch Gaara before. Gaara glared at Lee as Lee smirked, eager to fight on a more equal ground. Lee feinted a punch, circled Gaara and slammed his fist into Gaara's face. Gaara was knocked back several feet. This is bad, Kankuro said. Tamari nodded. Gaara stood up. His face was cracking and pieces fell to reveal a demonic, bloodthirsty expression on his face. Oh man, Lee's in big trouble, Naruto muttered. Why? Choji asked. Apparently Gaara had 2 shields. One was that strange moving sand that blocked all of Lee's initial attacks. Now this one covers Gaara in a protective sand covering that is extremely hard but I bet it's chakra draining. Lee looked up at Guy. Guy nodded. Lee smiled and began unwrapping the bandages around his arms. Lee ran around him looking for an opening. Lee found one and leapt at Gaara, landing a powerful kick at Gaara's chin. Gaara was kicked into the air. Lee followed him and kicked Gaara several times. Lee then wrapped the bandages around Gaara and began to spin down rapidly, head first. Lee leapt away before Gaara crashed into the ground, completely winded. Gaara's body was still. Whoa! Choji and Kiba exclaimed. Team 7 were nodding in approval at Lee's skill. Guy made a small punch in victory. Lee smiled and looked back at Gaara's body. His eyes widened when Gaara's body crumbled to reveal nothing. It was a shell. Lee turned to see Gaara crouching, his hands in a handseal. A huge torrent of sand flew toward Lee and smashed him against the wall. Several huge streams of sand repeatedly slammed into Lee. Lee barely dodged the next stream of sand. Hey Guy, how come Lee doesn't dodge Gaara's attack like before? Naruto asked. The technique Lee used, the lotus, is a forbidden technique. The huge amount of speed it requires puts a lot of stress on the body, causing Lee pain after he uses it, Guy said grimly. Oh man, Naruto groaned. Lee barely dodged several of Gaara's attacks. He concentrated and held his hands up to protect himself. Gaara sent another stream at Lee. This one was too fast for Lee to avoid. Lee move. Naruto roared. Lee dodged it at the last second. Lee stood up as if he was fully healed. What the hell? Kiba exclaimed. He was barely moving a moment ago. Naruto looked at Guy, confused. Guy smiled. The lotus of the leaf blooms twice, Guy said cryptically. Anko's eyes widened at this phrase. She turned to Guy with an angry expression on her face. Guy, you didn't teach him that jutsu, did you? Anko shouted. I did as a matter of fact, Guy said proudly. Don't you realize the dangers of that jutsu? Anko yelled. What are you talking about, Anko-sensei? Shino asked. There is a technique that forcibly opens the body's natural inhibitors, granting an exponential amount of strength. However, the after effects are severe and long-lasting. If you open all 8, a ninja will gain more power than a cage but will definitely die a painful death, Anko explained. She turned to Guy. How many can he open? 5, Guy answered proudly. This match ends here, Lee said to Gaara. Lee closed his eyes and concentrated. Chakra began to waft around Lee in huge amounts. Suddenly an aura of chakra appeared around Lee. Lee's skin turned red and his veins bulged as blood rushed in and out of his muscles and organs at a rapid pace. Life gate. Open. Lee yelled. The aura became even stronger as Lee concentrated even more. Harm gate. Open. Lee yelled. The aura of chakra around Lee was huge. Everyone was stunned at the amount of power shown through pure hard work. Lee took a step. Immediately a huge shockwave blasted everyone back as Lee's speed was so great that he vanished from everyone's vision. Lee gave Gaara a kick that caused him to fly in the air. Gaara was then battered by a barrage of punches and kicks that ripped his armor off. As Lee went for the final strike, his chakra grew. Limit gate. Open. Lee roared. He punched Gaara in the stomach, tugged Gaara back, and punched Gaara in the face. He slammed Gaara with all his force into the ground. A gigantic shockwave blew dust and stones into the air. When everyone could see again, they saw Lee lying on the floor exhausted. Gaara was extremely beaten in a huge crater. Gaara lifted his arm and directed his sand at Lee. Lee tried to move as the sand wrapped around his left arm and leg. Gaara smiled maliciously as the clenched his hand. Desert coffin. Lee screamed in pain as the bones in his arm and leg were crushed to pieces. Gaara sent more sand at Lee to kill him but was stopped by Guy. Why did you save him? Gaara asked in a tired voice. Because he is my precious student, Guy said. The winner of the 8th match, Gaara. Many genins watched in sadness as Gaara walked away with the victory. They turned to Lee and were shocked. Many of the Junins were stunned. No way, Anko breathed. Lee was standing in a taijutsu stance, even after he opened 5 gates and has a crushed arm and leg. Lee, that's enough, Guy said tearfully. He realized in shock that Lee was unconscious. Guy hugged him. You've proven yourself a great ninja, Guy proclaimed. Naruto began clapping for Lee. Kiba, Choji, and Shikamaru followed his example. Anko and Tenten soon joined. Shino was bawling with tears but applauded Lee's fight. Lee is one of the greatest ninjas I have ever seen. Naruto bellowed. To everyone's shock, Lee turned to where the applause was and smiled. After several medics carried Lee to the hospital, Guy had a somber look on his face. Kakashi jumped down and put a hand on Guy's shoulder. After several soft words, Guy nodded and jumped back to the balcony. Kakashi followed him to the balcony as well. The screen displayed the names of the two remaining ninjas. Tamari floated down on her fan while a rain nin jumped down. The final match between Tamari and Unka Kateki will now begin, Gecko announced. The fight was uneventful as Temari sliced her opponent with a wind jutsu. The winner of the final match is Tamari. With this, the preliminaries of the third exam is finished, Gecko announced. Gecko had the winners to gather in the arena. The Hokage was also in the arena. He observed the winners of the preliminaries. 8 leaf genins and 2 sand genins, Hokage thought. I'll now start explaining the final test. The main matches will be seen by everyone. Each of you will fight to represent the strength of your countries. I'd like you to go all out in those matches. Except Naruto, Hokage thought silently. It is for this reason the finals will be held in 1 month. I want you to use this break to train. We add this 1 month break so the various leaders and shinobi along with the daimyos can arrange this event. Now Gecko, bring out the box please, Hokage asked. Gecko stepped forward holding out an ordinary cardboard box. I want you all to pull out a slip of paper and announce the number. 1. Naruto said. 7. Gaara grunted. 9. Shino said. 3. Tamari said. 2. Tenten said, looking at Naruto nervously. She did not want to die. 5. Shikamaru said. 6. Kiba said. 10. Choji said. As each person said their numbers, Gecko wrote them down on a slip of paper. So that leaves Sasuke with 4 and Neji with 8, the Hokage muttered. The numbers you just drew were the match arrangements. Gecko showed them the match arrangements. Match 1. Naruto Uzumaki vs. Tenten. Match 2. Tamari vs. Sasuke Uchiha. Match 3. Shikamaru Nara vs. Kiba Inazaka. Match 4. Neji Hyuga vs. Gaara. Match 5. Shino Aburamevs. Choji Akamichi. The genins had several thoughts on their minds. I'm dead, Tenten thought. She looked over to see Naruto grinning at her. Tenten, don't worry, I won't kill you, Naruto said. Tenten was a bit relieved at that. Oh man, I'm against one of Team 7, Kiba thought. It's a tournament style, Tamari thought. Troublesome, Shikamaru mumbled. Shino thought. Aw man, I'm going against Shino, Choji thought. Neji Hyuga, Gaara thought. Now everyone is dismissed unless there are any questions, the Hokage said. Since it's a tournament, there will be only one winner. Does that mean the winner will be the only one promoted to Chunin? Shikamaru asked. No, there will be various judges there to judge if a candidate is able to become Chunin. This means everyone has the chance to be Chunin or none at all. An advancement in the tournament just means another chance to impress the judge, the Hokage explained. If there are no questions, everyone is dismissed. Everyone began to exit the tower. Oh, Naruto, could you please wait a moment? The Hokage asked. Naruto waited as everyone left. He waited for the Hokage to speak. Naruto, I want to thank you for killing Kabuto. Early this morning, I received an anonymous report that Kabuto was a very high-ranking sound nin. It proved the validity of another report that Kabuto was also extremely important to sound. Now, I was planning to kill Kabuto after the exams, but you have done that for me already. If I had done it after the exams, he could have escaped, carrying secrets of our village. Naruto nodded. The Hokage grinned. I also have a letter that a person that trained you is visiting, Sarutobi. Naruto began sweating and praying. Kami, please not him, Naruto thought. A person named Iankurabu Waijin. Shit. Not him. Anybody except him, Naruto bellowed. He fell at the Hokage's feet and began tugging on his robes. Hokage-sama, Please tell me he's not in the village yet, Naruto begged, tears pouring down his face. The Hokage was worried. Who was this person that could frighten Naruto so badly? He isn't here yet, but in the letter, he asked for admittance tomorrow, the Hokage said. Naruto stood up and bolted out of the tower, causing a large shockwave. The Hokage's sweat dropped. Who is Iankarabu Waijin? Shit. Naruto thought as he headed to his apartment. He was so worried that he bumped and shoved through many people. Why did he have to come here? Why? Naruto thought. Hey kid, I suggest you take it like a man and greet him. He'll train you for 1 week and then leave as always, Kyuubi suggested. Do you remember last time he trained me? Do you remember that he shattered every bone in my body, nearly damaged all of my arteries, and purposely hit me there with his club? Naruto bellowed. I see your point, Kyuubi said. Well, it might be good for you to head to the hot springs before he arrives to get yourself relaxed. Yeah, that sounds nice. I haven't had a good soak in the springs for several months, Naruto thought. Naruto went to the hot springs. After paying and changing out of his clothes, he went in the hot springs, enjoying the warmth and soothing waters. Ah, I forgot this feels so good, Naruto said. He was about to close his eyes and sleep when he heard giggling. Naruto became alert as he heard the giggle again. Wait a minute, I know that giggle, Naruto thought. He put on a towel and silently climbed over the fence. He jumped down and grimaced. A big man with long white, spiky hair was crouching down and peeking on the women's side of the hot spring. He giggling perversely and writing furiously in his notebook. Oh Konoha, I love it. Good food, nice people, and girls with huge jugs. Oh, what have we here? A raven-haired beauty with huge knockers. Looks like her name is Haku. Ooh, that's nice, the man muttered. Naruto had enough. He sneaked up on the old man and slammed his fist at the back of his head. The man's head shot forward and broke through the wall. Pervert. Naruto watched in pleasure as the old man's legs thrashed about as the women gave his face a beating. After several minutes of beating, the women left the springs. Naruto watched as the man tugged his head out of the wall. He looked angrily at Naruto, who was laughing on the ground. You brat. You made me lose valuable research, the old man said. You deserve it, Arrow Sennin. After peeking at my girlfriend, Naruto retorted. Which one was your girlfriend? The skinny pink-haired one. Jiraiya asked, interested. Hell no. It was the raven-haired beauty with the huge knockers, Naruto said. Jiraiya broke into tears. I'm so proud of you. You're growing up so fast. Jiraiya sobbed. Naruto's sweat dropped. So what are you doing here? Jiraiya asked. I'm trying to get a little rest before he arrives, Naruto said. Wait, when you mean he, you don't mean. Yes, him. Shit. Jiraiya said. I got to prepare. I need a whole lot of supplies. I'm heading to my apartment to pick up my supply scroll. You want to come? Naruto asked. I'm pretty sure I have several scrolls that could help you. Jiraiya nodded. Let's hurry, brat. I know several good fortified places we could hide in for 1 week. At least that man never stays in one place for more than a week. Naruto nodded. The two went to Naruto's house. Naruto opened it and ran into the house. He crashed into Haku. The two fell down. Naruto moved so that he was on the bottom while Haku was on top. Naruto-kun. Haku yelled in delight. She kissed Naruto in happiness. Naruto happily complied and the couple made out passionately on the floor for several minutes. Jiraiya was giggling lecherously as he wrote furiously in his notebook. After they stopped to regain their breath, Haku noticed Jiraiya, who was giggling and making several notes. Pervert. Haku screamed. She sent several senbons through his pants. They made several holes but did not hit anything. Jiraiya thanked Kami for that, his divine protection. Naruto-kun, how was the exam? Haku asked, curious. Naruto got up and went to his futon and lied down. Haku snuggled up beside him and listened as Naruto explained what he's been through. Haku listened as Naruto told her of the test in the forest. She was surprised that Orochimaru would be there. She was also surprised when Naruto soundly beat Orochimaru. She was concerned for Kiba when Naruto explained his situation and was happy to learn he passed. Then Naruto told her of the preliminaries. How Shino outmaneuvered his opponent and how Choji crushed Sakura. He also recounted Sasuke's win by a stole jutsu. He told Haku of how Shikamaru defeated the puppeteer and how Tenten defeated Ino with an onslaught of flying weaponry. Naruto told Kiba's match with enthusiasm. He then recounted Neji and Hinata's story. Haku had a tear in her eye when he finished. She also approved of Naruto's action against Neji after his match. She also understood Naruto's feelings when Kabuto taunted him. She began to cry a bit when she heard of Lee's valiant struggle against Gaara. You have gone through a lot in the exams. I never believed that there were such strong people as young as us around us, Haku said softly. Jiraiya nodded in agreement. So much pain and sorrow is a common sight in the shinobi world. Such friendships such as Team 7 and Kiba and Choji were not common and often forged a strong bond in this terrible world. So Naruto, why are you here? Haku asked. Naruto's eyes widened. Oh crap, Ero Sennin, we need to get what we need and leave now. Gotcha brat. Naruto went into his chest and pulled out a large red scroll. He tossed Jiraiya a smaller red scroll. Jiraiya picked some food that was enough for a week. He also grabbed medical supplies and medicine from the bathroom. Alright, got everything we needed. Jiraiya said. Naruto nodded and gave Haku a quick kiss and left. Naruto followed Jiraiya as they ran through Konoha. They went deep into the forest and stopped at a clearing hidden by boulders and brush. They set up camp and lit a campfire. Jiraiya summoned several toad warriors to be sentries. Naruto summoned several large ravens as lookouts. When the summons went away, the two relaxed. I'm sure we'll be safe here, Naruto said. Jiraiya chuckled. Don't worry, no one will ever find us. Just as Jiraiya finished saying the phrase, a shadow covered Naruto and Jiraiya. The two turned to see whom shadow belonged to. Their faces froze in an expression of shock and fear. On a tree branch, they saw a shadowy figure. The figure waved at the two shocked men. Well, I didn't think I'd meet you so soon, Naruto and Jiraiya. In the Hokage Tower, the Hokage was relaxing as his clones filled out the paperwork. He was spending his time doing some quality reading. Jiraiya, you are a genius and one of the greatest writers of this time, the Hokage said. He giggled lecherously as he read the next part. The Hokage was interrupted by Naruto and Jiraiya crashing through the window. They fell on the floor and crawled to the Hokage. Please save us, Naruto said, his face is soaked with tears. Help us Sarutobi-sensei. Jiraiya begged. Both of them were tugging at the Hokage's robe desperately. The Hokage looked out the crashed window and saw someone rapidly approaching them. The figure jumped into the office and landed on Jiraiya's and Naruto's back. Kami, have mercy. Jiraiya and Naruto wailed. The Hokage sweat dropped as he examined the Iankurabu Waijin. He was an old man of around 70 years old. He wore a brown and green robe and walked barefoot. He had little hair but had a long beard that reached down to his toes. He was also 2 feet high. Sarutobi might have laughed if it wasn't for the fact that the old man easily carried a kanabo, iron club, that was 5 feet long, weighed over 150 pounds, and had wicked-looking knobs and spikes adorning the business end. The small man bowed respectfully to the Hokage. Hello Hokage-sama, my name is Iankurabu Waijin, but you can call Jin. I believe you already know my pupil, Naruto, and the pervert that owes me 50,000 yens. Can you believe that he spent it on women, gambling, and sake? Disgraceful. Jin picked up his club, jumped, and slammed it near Jiraiya's skull. The club went through the floor. Jiraiya fainted in fear. Jin-san, please do not damage the building, the Hokage asked politely. I have enough trouble. Just a couple of days ago there was another report of several Junins being caught in a trap by my grandson. This is the 50th time that Konohamaru and his friends doing this. Jin looked down to see Naruto grinning. You're the cause of this, aren't you? Naruto tried to deny it, but Jin saw through his lie. Naruto. You know what this means, do you? Jin said sternly. No, not that. Naruto screamed in terror. Punishment. Jin lightly struck Naruto in the head with his hand. Bad Naruto. Aw man, Naruto groaned. The Hokage sweat dropped. This Jin was an extremely unique person. He had an even bigger sweat drop when Jin pulled out a pornographic magazine and began giggling. Ebisu stepped in the room and saw Jin reading the magazine. You, how shameless can you be? Ebisu asked appalled. Shut up. Don't pretend you don't like it, closet pervert, Jin said brazenly. Ebisu marched up and snatched the magazine with a self-righteous attitude. Jin was shocked for a moment. You had better respect your elders, boy. Jin growled. He lifted his kanabo and slammed it into Ebisu's gut. Ebisu flew out of the Hokage tower at breakneck speed. In the hospital, a receptionist was bored and nearly asleep. Nothing exciting happened today, the receptionist said. She closed her eyes and was about to sleep. Bang! The receptionist sat up just in time to see Ebisu's body slam into the wall behind her. Doctor! The receptionist yelled. A doctor came running and examined Ebisu. Kami, we got to get him to the emergency room. He has multiple fractures in every bone in his body and internal bleeding. We haven't had such an injury since Jiraiya peaked on Tsunade. Back in the Hokage tower, Jin was having a little victory dance. Home run. It's a grand slam. And the crowd goes wild. Jin said. He cupped his mouth and imitated applause. The Hokage cleared his throat. Excuse me, Jin-san, but I need to finish my paperwork, so could you please do any business you have with Naruto and Jiraiya someplace else? Certainly. Oi, pervert, shrimp, move yo, asses. Jin bellowed. Jiraiya and Naruto jumped back on their feet and jumped out the window. Jin jumped out the window also. The Hokage sighed at the huge mess Jin made. He sweat dropped when he heard Jin's voice and Jiraiya's screams. Where's my money? I'll have it tomorrow. No, not the club. Ow. Help. Murder. Kami. I'll ask again. Where's my money? I promise I'll have it tomorrow. Kaden. Hellflare. Mama help me. Oh Kami, the pain. Where's my money? In my scroll. As Jiraiya was admitted into the hospital, Naruto went to visit some of the other patients. He went to the receptionist. Excuse me. Do you know where Neji and Hinata Hyuga as well as Rock Lee are staying? The receptionist looked down to search for the names Naruto asked for. Naruto's sweat dropped when he noticed the dent Ebisu made as well as the bloodstains he left. They will be in room 210, 211, and 212. Thank you. Naruto went to the rooms. He visited Hinata's room first. Hinata was reading a book when she heard a knock on the door. Come in. Naruto walked in and sat in a chair beside her. Hey Hinata, how are you doing? Hinata smiled. Much better. Thank you for asking. Naruto laughed. Well, that's good news. What are you doing here, Naruto? My sensei is being treated in the hospital, so I thought I would visit you to see how you're doing. Thank you, Naruto. I have a question though. What is it? Why did you become a ninja if you're really kind? Naruto asked. Hinata looked out the window for several seconds before she answered. At first it was tradition that stated that I should have some ninja experience. However, as I grew older, I saw the injustices of the main house of the Hyugas against the branch house. I promised to myself to grow into a powerful ninja so I can help heal the long battle between the branch and main house. Such a bold goal for such a shy woman, Naruto said in admiration. Does Neji know? Hinata shook her head. I told no one of my dream except my sensei, Kurenai Yuhi. Naruto nodded. If you want help on accomplishing that dream, you can always ask me to help. I promise. Naruto grinned. Bye Hinata-chan. When Naruto left, Hinata looked out the window, smiling happily at the fact she has a new friend. Neji was staring up at the ceiling. He was thinking about Hinata's words. Was he really tormented by his own weakness? He was interrupted by a knock. May I come in? Neji turned and saw Naruto. What do you want? I want to talk to you, Naruto said. Neji scoffed. Come in. Naruto sat in a chair beside Neji's bed. So when are you getting out? In 3 days, Neji said. Do you know who you're fighting against? Some genin named Gara. Tenten told me she was fighting you, Neji said. Yeah, I know. Hey Neji, why do you hate Hinata so much? Is it because of the conflict between the main and branch house? Neji glared at Naruto. This does not concern you. Or is it much more personal? Something like your father dying for you, uncle, Naruto asked. How do you know? Neji asked. I have an insider that knows nearly everything the Hokage knows, Naruto said. Neji sighed. You're right. I hate Hinata because she represents everything to the main house. She is too naive, gentle, spoiled, and weak. What if I told you she fights for a united Hyuga clan? She wishes to heal the conflicts between the two houses. This is her dream and you nearly killed her. Naruto said sternly. Neji was slack-jawed in shock. What? You heard me. She also harbors no ill will toward you and wishes for your happiness, Naruto said. Neji looked down in shame, tears coming out of his eyes. Neji, although she has a dream that you also want, she will need help. Go ask her and repair family bonds that should have been healed decades ago, Naruto said gently. Thank you, Naruto, Neji said. Neji slipped out of bed and hurried to Hinata's room. Naruto hummed happily to himself as he went to Lee's room. Naruto saw Lee strapped to a bed. Hi Lee, why are you strapped to a bed? Naruto asked. Lee turned and smiled at Naruto. Oh hi Naruto. I was strapped to a bed after they found me trying to exercise for the 5th time. They told me if I didn't, my arm and leg wouldn't heal. Ah, that explains it. Anyway, are you going to recover? Lee turned sad at Naruto's question. He looked down. It was so unlike the energetic, determined, optimistic Lee he saw at the exam. The doctors said that even if I do recover, I might not be fit to be a ninja anymore, Lee said sadly. Naruto understood why he was so crestfallen now. Lee, don't worry. I'm sure you'll be a ninja soon. Don't worry about what the doctors say. Miracles have happened and I'm pretty sure it'll happen to you. Lee brightened up. You're right, Naruto. I'm sure I'll recover and soon I'll be up and fighting with Guy Sensei. Just then, Maida Guy walked in. Yo, Guy Sensei. Bye. Naruto shouted and ran out of the room. As he walked back, he spotted someone familiar in a hospital room. Naruto recognized her when he took a closer look. It was that sound genin they spared in the forest. Kin was looking out the window, wondering what would happen to her. She had no illusions about what could happen to her but still hoped for the best. She turned when she heard a knock. Come in, she said, thinking it was a nurse. Instead it was the blonde-haired ninja that captured her. Hi, I hope I'm not bothering you, Naruto said politely. Not really, I have nothing to do, she said. Naruto smiled and sat in a chair by her bedside. I want to apologize for killing your teammates in the forest. It's no problem. I wasn't close to any of them, she said. My name is Naruto. Naruto Uzumaki, Naruto said. He stuck out his hand. The girl smiled and shook his hand. Kin Tsuchi. I used to be from Sound but not anymore, Kin said. Used. It's a rule in Sound that anyone that is weak or cowardly enough to be captured should die. Anyway, there's only one person in Sound that I was friends with, Kin said sadly. That's horrible. It is. It's not big or as kind as your village. Nor the leader is as kind as yours. Our village is small and the leader threatens to eliminate any person that disobeys him. Naruto patted her hand as she began to cry. It's alright. In Konoha we have a different set of rules. We won't let an enemy ninja be tortured unless they refuse to cooperate. We always welcome new ninjas if they are loyal to the village. Kin looked up in hope. Do you think I could join this village? Naruto smiled. I'm sure I can vouch for you. I also have very powerful allies. I'm pretty sure I can persuade the Hokage to let you stay. Kin pulled Naruto into a tight hug. Naruto was surprised by the sudden action. However, he gently rubbed her back as Kin began to cry in relief and thanks. After a while, Kin stopped crying. Naruto smiled. Feel better now? Kin wiped her eyes. Yeah, a lot better. Oi, shrimp. Get yo. Charmin out here pronto. A voice yelled outside the room. Oh shit, have to run. I'll talk to you later. If you want to find me after you get released, here's my address, Naruto said quickly. He wrote it on a scrap piece of paper and shoved it in her hand. Naruto ran out the room and was punched by a dwarf carrying a giant kanabo. You know, in my day, the kids waited for their elders. Not the other way around. When I was a SMALLBOY, I waited for my grandma even if she was yapping and yapping, Jin yelled. Naruto rubbed his sore cheek and rolled his eyes. Did you just roll your eyes at me, son? No, sir. Just WHO do you think you are? Nobody, sir. That's right. Now carry me to the nearest brothel. Kin's sweat dropped as Naruto was forced to carry Jin and run through the hospital with Jin occasionally rapping Naruto's leg with a stick. Meanwhile, outside her window, Jiraiya was making several notes in his notebook. He was giggling perversely. That boy is an inspiration. I have to follow him, Jiraiya whispered. He jumped off the wall and went to observe Naruto. The next week with Jin was hell on earth. Naruto was forced through several days of Jin's training. He was forced to carry Jin all day with his gravity seal at 9x. He was also forced to run several miles non-stop with Jin holding a bow and an arrow dipped in acid. Sparring with Jin was the worst because Jin was fast as well as strong. He wielded his huge weapon like a twig. Jin's small size made him a nearly impossible target because he was always jumping and running around. Naruto was thankful of Kyuubi's extremely fast healing and stamina. Each strike with the club was like 3 exploding notes going off simultaneously. However, Naruto was able to get much stronger in 1 week than all of his training with Anko and Zabuza. Jin was also fun to be around. He was a grumpy, smartass, loud, old pervert. He would often peek along with Jiraiya and sit outside underwear stores catcalling the ladies inside. Anko was one of the ladies Jin catcalled once. She got into an argument with him. During this argument, there were a lot of words and phrases that surprised many of the Junins. After a week, Naruto was at the front gate with Jin. Well, Naruto, so long. Make sure you don't slack off or I'll come back to whip you back into shape. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Good. Jin turned to leave. Oh, Naruto. Yes, sir. Naruto asked. Jin slammed his club into Naruto's abdomen. Naruto flew all the way to the Hokage Tower. Jin watched as Naruto created a new hole in the Hokage Tower. Yes. And the dwarves win the Intervillage Championships over the Maelstorms. Naruto went to his apartment for the first time in a week for a much-needed rest. As he was outside his door, he saw Jiraiya outside the door giggling and making several notes. Naruto opened the door and was immediately punctured by ice and steel bonds. One of them hit a pressure point that knocked him out. When Naruto woke up, he saw Haku and Kin kneeling at either side of him. They were glaring at each other. Haku and Kin were holding one hand each. Oh, where am I? Naruto groaned. You're awake, Naruto-kun, Haku said happily. She hugged him. Naruto hugged back tightly. Hey Kin, what are you doing here? Naruto asked. I needed a place to stay after the hospital released me a couple of days ago. I came here to ask if I could stay with you until I had your own place, Kin replied. Naruto scratched the back of his head. Oh well, does Zabuza still live with us, Haku? Haku nodded. Naruto groaned. He would have thought that Zabuza would move out now. An idea struck him. You could be roommates with Haku, Kin, Naruto proposed. With her? Haku and Kin exclaimed. Naruto shrugged. Please, girls. This is only temporary. Just learn how to live together, please. Haku and Kin sighed. Fine. That's great. Haku, tonight I'll cook, Naruto said happily. Outside the apartment, Zabuza was discovering the glories of Ika Ika Paradise, thanks to Jiraiya. He was giggling perversely as he walked around Konoha in an aimless manner. He bumped into an ardent Ika Ika hater. Zabuza, please tell me that isn't Ika Ika. Zabuza took his eyes off the book to realize he was talking to Anko. Anko was twirling a knife and had a more sadistic look on her face than normal. He began to sweat. Zabuza, I'm waiting. Shit. Back in the apartment, Naruto had arranged Haku's room so that Kin had her own area. Naruto rubbed the back of his head. The apartment was getting crowded. There were 4 people inside a 2-bedroom apartment. Naruto gave Kin some money to get clothes for herself. Kin was delighted and dragged Naruto down to pick new clothes. Naruto didn't say much, but he did suggest on a more useful ninja clothes. She picked out long pants with plenty of pockets, a turtleneck sweater with no sleeves and bracers on her arms. She also got more clothes like nightdresses and bras that embarrassed Naruto. When Naruto got back, he saw Zabuza on his futon being treated by Haku. He had multiple cuts, snakebite wounds, and burns. He had an orange book in his hand and was whispering, "No more snakes. No more snakes." Zabuza, did you meet Anko-sensei while reading that book? Zabuza nodded. Naruto sighed. Zabuza, you never read that book in public. Only Kakashi does that because he's done it for such a long time that no one notices. Wish you told me that sooner, brat, Zabuza said weakly. Naruto grinned and went to the kitchen to cook dinner. He picked some chicken and rice and made a big dish of oyakodon donburi, a chicken and rice dish. He also made some miso soup and stir-fried vegetables. Hey Kin, can you set the table? Naruto asked. Kin nodded and placed 4 bowls and 4 pairs of chopsticks on the dinner table. Naruto placed the oyakodon donburi in a big bowl and the vegetables and soup in smaller bowls. Dinner time. Naruto called out cheerfully. Haku and Zabuza came over. They ate out mostly when Naruto did not cook since neither of them was as good as cooking as Naruto. This smells great, Naruto-kun. Haku said. It really does, Zabuza said, eagerly picking up a bowl. Knock knock knock. Hey Kin, can you get the door? Kin nodded and opened the door. Flooded with happiness I cry tears of pearls. The hermit of the legendary Sanin. The toad demon of the mysterious Myuboku mountain. The great Jiraiyaah. Kin slammed the door quickly. Naruto. Did you put something in the food? Nah, that's just Ero Sennin. Let him in, Naruto said. Haku humped and continued to eat. Jiraiya bounded into the room. Hey bratwa. Hey, that smells good. Bowls are in the cabinet, chopsticks in the drawer under it, and some sake is in the pantry, Naruto said. Jiraiya nodded and got a bowl, chopsticks, and sake. He helped himself to some food and began eating. Man brat, I might hate you for not being a super pervert after a year with me, but you make damn good food, Jiraiya said. Zabuza, Kin, and Haku nodded. After dinner, Haku and Zabuza began to clean up the table. Kin helped wash the dinner as Jiraiya and Naruto talked. Hey Ero-sensei, why did you come here? Naruto asked. Jiraiya took a swig of sake before speaking. Well, the Hokage wanted me to watch over this genin called Gaara. Can you tell me anything about him? Gaara, Kin asked. Jiraiya and Naruto turned to her. Gaara is the Jinchuriki and is a key part in the upcoming invasion of Konoha by Sand and Sound. What? Jiraiya exclaimed. An invasion? Naruto asked. Kin nodded. It's to take place in 3 weeks during the 3rd exam. Jiraiya shook his head. Come on brat, we gotta tell this to the Hokage. Kin, follow us to the Hokage. He needs to hear this, Naruto said. We'll come too. While I might be just a worker at the hospital, I can help too, Haku said. And I was given Junin rank a few days ago, Zabuza said. Alright, but last one who leaves locks the door, Naruto said. The group arrived in the Hokage Tower in 20 minutes. They ran straight past the receptionist. The receptionist activated a silent alarm and Anbu began appearing in the hallways. However, when they saw Jiraiya, the Anbu stood in attention and saluted him. Jiraiya grinned at the respect he was getting. Now this is what I deserve, Jiraiya said as they went past several saluting Anbu. Naruto rolled his eyes at Jiraiya's comment. They wouldn't be saluting if they knew you were the author of Ika Ika, Naruto said snidely. Jiraiya was going to whine about Naruto's comment, but every Anbu in listening range fell to their knees and bowed. Welcome to the Hokage Tower, Jiraiya Dono, they chorused. Naruto's sweat dropped at the sheer amount of perverts that were in the ANBU. Jiraiya smirked and made a ridiculous pose. Inspired with visions of heaven, I write them down with my pen for men to glimpse at heaven. The master writer and the one of the three great Sanins. The mega pervert and the sage of Mayuboko Mountain. The great and perverted Jiraiyaah. All hail Jiraiya Dono. The Anbu cried in unison. Yes all. Aye. Jiraiya shrieked. Two Senbons, one of ice and the other of steel, punctured deep in each cheek. Naruto looked behind him to see Kin and Haku smirking as Jiraiya fell down on his butt, only making the Senbons drive in deeper in his. Aye. What is going on? Everyone looked to see the Hokage striding silently down the hallways with a slightly annoyed look on his face. An Anbu saluted the Hokage. Hokage-sama, we received an alarm from your receptionist that intruders had invaded the Hokage Tower. However, we recognized one of the intruders as Jiraiya-sama. The Hokage looked down to see Jiraiya crying in pain and holding his butt. What happened to him? The Hokage asked. The two kunoichis behind Naruto Uzumaki threw a Senbon each into Jiraiya-sama's behind. Jiraiya fell down on his rear and accidentally forced the two Senbons even deeper. The Hokage sweat dropped as Jiraiya threw a mini tantrum at the pain. He turned to Naruto, who was watching Jiraiya's pain in happiness. Naruto, can you tell me why you are here? The Hokage asked. Naruto looked away from the crying Jiraiya. We came over here to tell you of very important information concerning sand and sound. Come to my office all of you, the Hokage ordered. Naruto, Zabuza, Haku, and Kin walked to the Hokage's office. Jiraiya painfully crawled his way into the Hokage's office. When the Hokage sat down, he looked at Jiraiya. Jiraiya, what information is Naruto talking about? Asked Kin. She knows much of the details of the plan, Jiraiya grunted. Kin, can you please tell me what sand and sound is planning? The Hokage asked. I want two things first before I say anything, Kin demanded. The Hokage looked down. What is it? I want to join Konoha as a genin. I also want to stay under the protection of Naruto Uzumaki, Kin demanded. Naruto was surprised at the second demand. He was about to speak when the Hokage beat him to it. Agreed. In exchange for this information, you may join Konoha as a genin and live under Naruto's protection until you reach 16, the Hokage said. Kin grinned at Haku's shocked face. She sent Haku a quick victory sign before turning back to the Hokage. Hokage-sama. During the exam, sand and sound are going to attempt to destroy Konoha. Why? For sound, it is the will of the Otokage. However, the Otokage managed to persuade the Kazekage into agreeing to invade Konoha by saying that it was Konoha's fault that the Wind Daimyo cut Sand's funding. The Otokage also said after Konoha was gone, Sand will be the greatest village in the land. How do they plan to accomplish the invasion? They plan to have Gaara release the full power of the Aikibi during the third exam. During the chaos, several shinobis will cast genjutsus on the majority of Konoha shinobis, Kin said. Outside the village, several shinobis will summon snakes using the scrolls the Otokage gave to them. Using the snakes, they will destroy Konoha's outer wall and send most of the Konoha shinobis into disarray. While the Konoha ninjas are disorganized, Sand and Sound Junins will kill the most dangerous Konoha ninjas while Chunins will kill the rest or the ninjas as the Otokage completes his own objective, Kin reported. The Hokage leaned back. This makes a lot of sense. Kabuto's unusual knowledge of the Konoha shinobi's stats, Gaara's presence despite his instability as a Jinchuriki, and also Orochimaru's presence in the forest. Kin, I shall do all in my power to make you a Konoha genin for this information. This information is vital to the future of Konoha. Anbu. Several ANBUs entered the office. Find all of the Junins and send them to meet me here for a meeting. If they refuse, they will be demoted to Chunin and forced to do D-rank missions for a month, the Hokage ordered. The ANBUs nodded and vanished out the office. The Hokage turned to Naruto, Haku, and Kin. You three go back home. I want you to act as normally as possible. Naruto, you and your team have my permission to do anything for the preparation and protection of the Konoha Genins. Understand? Understand, Naruto said. Good. Dismissed, the Hokage said. Naruto saluted and walked out the office with Kin and Haku. When they arrived home, Naruto went straight to bed. He wasn't able to sleep though. He stared at the ceiling, wondering what will happen. Naruto, are you alright? Naruto turned to see Haku standing at the doorway in pajamas, her eyes full of concern. Naruto sighed. I'm worried. About what? The invasion. I know it's still 3 weeks away, but I don't know if I'll be able to protect all of my precious people and keep them safe. Haku's expression softened. She slid in his bed and hugged Naruto. Naruto, you are stronger, braver, and kinder than any man I have ever met. I know you'll be able to protect us. Naruto hugged her back. Thanks, Haku. Haku, will you please spend the night with me? Of course. Naruto finally fell asleep, content. In the morning, Kin woke up to see Haku sleeping with Naruto. She felt her heart thump painfully and her eyes water when she saw the couple. Damn it, what is going on? Kin thought. Why is it I always feel longing around Naruto? That I always have the urge to kiss him? That my whole body heats up just by the mere touch of Naruto? Kin sighed and went to prepare some breakfast. She went into the kitchen and made some dough. She placed in the oven for several minutes, breathing the sweet smell that emanated from the baking bread. It was soothing to breathe in the smell of comfort foods. Naruto yawned and got out of bed. After doing some morning stretches and his morning business, he noticed the smell of something sweet and savory in the air. He followed it to the kitchen where he saw Kin cooling off buns of sweet-smelling bread. After she placed the last bun on the cooling tray, she noticed Naruto drooling. Good morning, Naruto. I used the kitchen to make some melon pa buns for breakfast. I hope you don't mind, Kin said nervously. Naruto grinned. Don't worry. This smells great. I don't mind you using the kitchen as long as you don't break it. Naruto grabbed one off the cooling tray and took a big bite out of it. Wow, Kin-chan. These are great. Do you mind if I give one to my friends for a morning breakfast? Not at all, Kin said happily. Naruto hugged her. Thanks, Kin-chan. Naruto went to the room and changed into his day clothes. Unfortunately, he forgot to close the door, leaving Kin a free show of Naruto's body. She pinched her nose to prevent any blood from coming out as she examined his body. Naruto put on his trench coat and wrapped his scarf around his face and neck. He grabbed 10 buns and another one for himself. He put the 10 buns in a scroll, still piping hot, and sealed it into a scroll. He then grabbed several cans of rice milk and sealed them in the same scroll. He waved at Kin and exited the apartment. He first headed to Kiba's house. The most prominent feature was that the house was covered in dogs. Dogs of every color and bigger than any Naruto has ever seen. Naruto held his arms up to show he was no threat. He went to the door and knocked on it. A girl with long brown hair and 2 red marks on her cheek answered the door. I need to talk to Kiba. Is he here? Wait a second while I get him down here, the girl said. Naruto waited as she went upstairs. Soon he heard banging and shouting. Kiba soon tumbled down the staircase and fell in a heap. Akamaru also came down the stairs yipping and stood on Kiba's body. Hey Akamaru, how are you boy? Naruto said. He scratched the area behind Akamaru's ears and smiled as Akamaru growled in pleasure. Morning Kiba. Ready to start some training for the 3rd exam, Naruto said cheerfully. Kiba jumped onto his feet, eager to start training. Alright, what are we doing first? Kiba asked excitedly. First, you're going to eat, Naruto said. He pulled out his scroll and summoned 2 melon pa buns and a cold can of rice milk. Kiba tasted the melon pa cautiously. Man, this stuff is good, Kiba exclaimed. He began eating it enthusiastically. He tore off a piece for Akamaru and watched as Akamaru ate it eagerly. They soon finished the buns and the drink. Kiba and Akamaru let out a belch at the same time. Now that you finished your breakfast, I have a present for you, Naruto said. Kiba watched eagerly as Naruto pulled out a scroll with the kanji weapons. Naruto channeled some chakra into the scrolls and summoned 2 bracers with fingerless gloves. Kiba put these on, Naruto ordered. Kiba rolled his sleeves and strapped on the 2 bracers. He inspected them as he placed them on his forearms. They were gray and elaborately designed with images of wolves running across them. Kiba, tap your index knuckle with your thumb and see what happens, Naruto said with a grin. Kiba tapped his index knuckle and watched in delight as sharp blades, like claws, popped out of the sheath. There were 3 claws on each bracer, each of them were 7 inches long and razor sharp. Whoa, man Naruto, where did you get these? Kiba asked. Naruto smirked. Weapons are meant to be an extension of the body. Since your taijutsu is an imitation of canines, I thought it might be appropriate for you to learn how to use these. Also, those claws can be retracted with another tap to your knuckle. Naruto chuckled as Kiba excitedly popped the claws in and out. I'm assuming you like them. Are you kidding? These weapons are awesome, Kiba said ecstatic. Akamaru let out a series of yips and barks. Oh yeah, I can't wait to see our piercing fang attack now. Naruto cleared his throat. Kiba, sheathe those claws for now. I want you to read a scroll as we head to Choji's house. I'm also going to train him. Shino and Shikamaru will be training with their fathers. I'm pretty sure Shuza will be teaching him summoning. I'll be teaching Choji a martial art known as boxing and judo. Kiba began to read the scroll. His eyes widened when he saw the techniques and tips in the scroll. He quickly went to the end and gasped at the author's name. Kimono Inazaka, the strongest warrior of our clan ever. Naruto, where this you get this scroll? Naruto winked. That's for me to know and you to find out. Kiba followed Naruto as they went to Choji's house. Naruto knocked the door eagerly. Shuza opened the door. Good morning Naruto-san. How are you today? I'm fine Shuza-san. Is Choji up yet? Ah, I was going to wake him up now. Wait here in the dining room. Feel free to eat some breakfast if you feel like, Shuza said cheerfully. Kiba's mouth watered when he saw the huge plate of teriyaki on the table. Naruto saw this and elbowed him in the gut. You eat it, you'll vomit during training. Also I'll make you wish you hadn't eaten if you disobey me, Naruto whispered. Kiba nodded and closed his eyes from the food. Choji soon arrived in the kitchen. Hi guys. What are you doing here? Choji asked cheerfully. I'm here to train you in the 3rd exam. I want to help train you for 1 week, then let Shuza train you until the 3rd exam. Remember, you're going against Shino, Naruto said. Choji looked at his dad for advice. Let Naruto train you. He's a very skilled ninja and I'm sure he'll give you good points for you to be a better ninja, Shuza said. Choji nodded. Okay Naruto, but let me eat first. Naruto pulled Choji away from the table. Nope. We need to train now. I already have some breakfast for you. Naruto shoved 2 buns of melon pa and a can of rice milk. Now eat. We'll be at the training grounds soon, so don't waste your time complaining. Choji began eating, a little miffed that he couldn't have a relaxing breakfast. However, he couldn't deny that the melon pa buns with rice milk was an awesome breakfast. Naruto headed to Training Ground 26, Team 7's training grounds. By now, the training ground had been damaged beyond repair. There were broken trees, craters, and huge slash marks. Choji and Kiba looked at the field in awe. Who uses this training field Naruto? Choji asked. Naruto rubbed the back of his head in embarrassment. Team 7 and a couple friends. I often have a problem in not holding back in spars. This is why the field is so damaged. Anyway Choji, I have a gift for you, Naruto said. Close your eyes. Choji looked to Kiba. Kiba smiled. Trust Naruto, look what Naruto gave me. Kiba extended his claws and smirked as Choji's eyes widened. Choji quickly covered his eyes. Naruto summoned 2 things from the weapons scroll. One was a pair of battle gloves and bracers. The other was a cannibal like Jin has, only lighter and shorter. Alright, open your eyes now, Naruto said. Choji's eyes widened when he saw the kanabo and gloves. Whoa, look at this Kiba, Choji said. He hefted the huge steel club and swung it at a nearby training post. The club shattered the post into splinters. Naruto smiled at how easily Choji was able to wield it. Choji put those gloves on. They're called cestus and they're going to be helpful in the style of fighting I'm going to show you. They also prevent your hands from chafing as you wield that club, Naruto explained. Choji put down his club and pulled on the pair of battle gloves. They fit well and had enough slack for Choji to wear them for later years. Naruto lifted Choji's arm. Naruto rapped it sharply with his hand. Can you feel that, Choji? No. Good. Now I want you to punch one of the training posts. Choji shrugged, but he punched one of the training posts hard. When Choji pulled back his fist, there was an inch-deep dent in the hard wood. Wow. I didn't know you were that strong, Naruto said, impressed. You're definitely a lot stronger than Shino. However, you're slow in speed. We'll compensate that with armor and extremely accurate and powerful blows. I have a set of battle armor in the clan house, Choji said. Naruto nodded. Tomorrow bring it. For now I want you to swing that kanabo of 50 times down, 50 times up, 50 times from left to right, and 50 times from right to left. You can take breaks but don't stop until you have finished, Naruto said. Choji nodded and began to do his task with enthusiasm. Naruto turned to Kiba, who was dying to try out some of the moves in the scroll. Kiba, before you start to use those moves, you have to bring up your speed and strength if you hope to use them at all. I want you to climb a tree 20 times using only your claws while wearing a 100-pound vest. Where's the vest? Naruto took off his vest and pulled out several iron bars. Every time Naruto dropped one, a huge crater emerged. In total he pulled out 9. He left the last weight bar in his vest and placed it on Kiba. Kiba buckled a bit as he got used to the weight. Man, Naruto, you walk around with this weight all the time? Kiba asked. Naruto nodded. Kiba, what are you waiting for? Hurry up. Kiba began climbing the tree only using his claws. The claws gripped to the tree trunk well, but his upper body was working hard. Kiba sweated after doing 5. After the 10th one his arms were feeling like jelly. Choji's arm also felt the same as Kiba's. After the 100th swing, his arms felt like lead. Naruto, I need a break, Choji begged. Naruto looked at Kiba, who was hanging in the tree by his claws. Alright, cool off for 15 minutes then back to training. Choji dropped to the ground for a much needed rest. Kiba loosened his claws and landed in a loud thump on the ground. During the day, Naruto had them drill in various physical activities, strength building, and stamina growing. Kiba and Choji called Naruto a sadist several times during the day. However, the day was highly productive. Naruto was right in Choji's martial arts. Choji's solid and muscular body made him more resistant to most taijutsu attacks while he delivered his own more powerful blows with his fist and club. Also, Naruto's tutoring in judo made Choji proficient enough to flip Naruto several times in a taijutsu match. Choji's skill with the kanabo wasn't shabby either. It was sort of like fighting Jin again. Except without the perverted comments and the random swings with the kanabo. Kiba was no slacker either. His training improved his arm strikes and strength. His claws made his piercing fang attack more like a drill tornado. He also learned 2 attacks from the scroll. The Moon Hunt and the Spring Hunt. Both of these attacks focused on strength and exceptional teamwork between partner and ninja. When it was 6 o'clock, Naruto allowed them to go home. Both of them were grateful of the dismissal and hurried home. Naruto stayed at the training ground to stay. He meditated and channeled chakra in his sword. In his mind, a large crystal blue dragon appeared. It breathed out bright blue flames from its mouth as it breathed. Long time no see, hatchling, the dragon said. It's good to see you again, Ekisho Ryujin. In the Aburame clan house, Shino was resting after a sparring match with his father. His father deserved the title of clan head. His proficiency with clan jutsus was unmatched. If Shino had not been so diverse, Shino doubted he could have won. He needed to wear a portable hive on his body like his father. Shikamaru was also resting after a sparring match with his father. Although his father was extremely lazy, he was deceptively observant and analytical. He made strategies out of thin air and winning combinations from near defeat. Zabuza was at the apartment reading his Ika Ika. However, he was not paying much attention due to the drama that was unfolding before him. Haku and Kin were glaring at each other. Zabuza could literally see sparks fly between them. Alright, let's get this over. You like Naruto, don't you? Haku accused. Why wouldn't I? Kin said cheekily. He's strong, kind, and a great person. It doesn't hurt that he has an amazing body and an impressive. Alright, that's enough. Listen, Naruto is mine, Haku said angrily. What are you afraid of? A little competition, Kin said. What competition? All I see is a cheap wannabe kunoichi that can't handle Naruto, Haku said. At least that's better than being an ice bitch, Kin said. Haku pulled out several senbons. You wanna go bitch? Kin pulled out her own senbons. Let's go whore. Zabuza thought it was time to intervene. Don't you think you girls are going too far? Stay out of this. Zabuza huddled in a corner, not wanting to be the brunt of the two girls' anger. Still, he thought he should make a comment. Did you know that there is a rule in Konoha that states that males with bloodlines can have multiple wives if they are the last of their clan? Zabuza commented. Zabuza tried to make himself as small as possible as iron and ice and bonds flew at him. Just sit there and read your perverted book. Haku screamed. Say any more and you won't have to worry about being a man. Kin threatened. Kami, help me. Where are you, Naruto? Zabuza asked in a whisper. Just then, Naruto walked in. Hi Haku-chan, Kin-chan. Zabuza. How's it going? Naruto-kun. Haku and Kin exclaimed. Both of them hugged Naruto. Naruto hugged both of them back. He shot a confused expression at Zabuza. Zabuza shrugged and went back to reading his book. So what happened while I was gone? Naruto asked. Nothing, Kin and Haku said at the same time. The two glared at each other. They were arguing over you, Naruto. Kin likes you but Haku doesn't want to share you, Zabuza said. Zabuza looked up to see a cloud of white and silver senbons fly toward him. Zabuza managed to dodge all of them but several punctured his book. Zabuza stared at the book in horror. My Icha. Enough. Naruto roared. He threw a mint copy of Ika Ika at Zabuza. Zabuza hugged the book tightly and went back on reading. Naruto turned to the two arguing girls. Haku. Kin. We're going to finish this argument now. He turned to Haku. What is your problem with Kin? I'm afraid that you might replace me with Kin. She's beautiful and knows how to cook, Haku admitted. Your turn, Kin, Naruto said. I like you so much, Naruto, but I know you love Haku. My heart always hurt every time I saw you cuddling with Haku. I know I'm not that pretty but I still want a chance with you, Naruto. Kyuubi, a little help here? Naruto asked. I say, you let both of them be your girlfriends, Kyuubi said. What? Naruto said. It's the best solution, Kyuubi said. Naruto sighed. You can't argue with a 10,000-year-old kitsune. Still, no one will be happy for several days. I have a solution, Naruto said. Haku and Kin looked up eagerly. I'll let both of you be my girlfriends, Naruto said. What? Kin and Haku screamed. Look, girls, I don't feel happy if I had to choose between one of you two and leave the other crying. I promise I will love both of you equally. To prove it, I'll sleep with both of you tonight, Naruto said. Haku and Kin looked at each other. Please, girls. Don't make this any harder. No shirt? Kin asked. No shirt, Naruto said. Fine. We promise not to fight and learn to live with each other, Haku said. Kin and Haku shook hands. Naruto smiled. He hugged both of the girls tightly. Thank you, girls, Naruto said. Haku kissed Naruto first. They made out passionately for several minutes. Kin could hear the S of pleasure by Haku. After Naruto was done kissing Haku, he turned to Kin and gently kissed her. Naruto held her face gently and pulled Kin's face closer. Kin gladly closed the distance between Naruto and her even more. She was in heaven. Sparks of pleasure were running up and down her spine like crazy. Her body was shaking and shivering as Naruto's kiss sent sensations she never knew existed through her whole body. They reluctantly separated to catch their breath. Kami, that felt amazing, Kin gasped. Was that how you imagined your first kiss? That and more. Kin breathed. She turned to Haku, who was smiling at Naruto's and Kin's happiness. My turn. Haku squealed. Kin grinned. Together, Kin and Haku pulled Naruto to their room. All night, squeals of laughter and happiness along with s of pleasure come from the room. Outside the apartment, Jiraiya was holding a cup to his ear. He giggled lecherously as he listened to Haku, Kin, and Naruto. He furiously wrote through several notebook pages. All were from Naruto, Kin, and Haku. Kami. That boy is an inspiration to all men. Luckily my superb writing abilities can record this monumental event for all men. Eve of the New Age. Naruto staggered out of Haku's and Kin's night after a very rough night. He limped to the pantry and retrieved a sake bottle that was labeled, in case of emergency. He sipped some and began to spasm as the extremely strong sake kick-started his wild system with a powerful jolt. Ahahahaha. Naruto gasped. After a minute, Naruto felt extremely rested. Woo. That's some strong stuff. Yeah, but remember, no more sake for the next 24 hours. Naruto groaned. Oh yeah, I forgot. Man, no sake for a day. Hey, if you were some other person, you would be in a coma for half a day. Good morning, Naruto-kun. Naruto glanced behind him to see Haku and Kin hug him tightly. He could swear that he felt some of his bones begin creaking. I began seeing blue and black spots on the border of his vision. If they don't let you go any sooner, you'll start seeing the white gates of heaven or the blood-crusted gates of hell. Personally, I think you'll be seeing the blood-crusted gates of hell, Kyuubi said. Naruto inwardly agreed. Girls please, ease up on the hugging, Naruto gasped. He sighed in relief as the near strangulation became a gentle, loving hug. Naruto grinned and began tickling both of them. Bang. Naruto come. Whoa. Naruto turned to see Kiba staring and pointing at Naruto, Kin, and Haku. You are my hero. Kiba yelled. Naruto's sweat dropped as Kiba began bowing repeatedly at Naruto. I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. Kiba yelled at the top of his voice. Naruto had a tick mark above his eye that grew even bigger as his neighbor next door began shouting. Yosh. It is such a youthful morning. I shall display my youthfulness by running around Konoha with my hands. Guy yelled. Good morning, Naruto. Zabuza roared as he launched a flying sidekick at Naruto's head. Naruto ducked and let Zabuza fly over him. Kin, do you have 3 senbons I can borrow? Naruto asked. Kin handed Naruto 3 steel senbons. Naruto dipped them in a cool green paste he had stored in a small container in his jacket. At this point, the air was full of Kiba's, Guy's, and Zabuza's yelling. I'm not. Youthfulness. Brat. Sparring. Naruto threw 2 of the senbons at Zabuza and Kiba. Naruto threw the last one hard, through the wall. Kiba's and Zabuza's eyes rolled back as the powerful sedative Naruto used took effect. Guy took a bit longer, but he too succumbed to the sedative. Naruto, Kin, and Haku sighed in relief as the apartment became quiet once more. Much better, Haku sighed. Naruto and Kin agreed. Guy-sensei, what happened to the springtime of your youthfulness? It was as if the wintertime of sloth drained your youthfulness, Lee screamed next door. Kin handed Naruto a senbons. Naruto spread some sedative on the senbons and threw it hard through the wall. Gai se, Lee said. They heard a thump as Lee's body hit the floor. Well, how about some breakfast? Naruto asked. Kin and Haku nodded eagerly. Naruto heated some melon pa buns while Haku made some tea. Kin set the table and the 3 had a peaceful breakfast amidst the snores from Zabuza and Kiba. Naruto pulled Akamaru out of Kiba's jacket and fed him pieces of melon pa buns. Akamaru growled in happiness as Haku rubbed his stomach and scratched behind his ears. Alright, I better get going, Naruto said. Bye Haku-chan. Bye Kin-chan. Naruto gave both girls a quick kiss and left. Naruto let Akamaru sit in one of his pockets and dragged Kiba by his ankle until the sedative wore off. By then Naruto had went through the alleys and slums of Konoha, dragging Kiba. What's that smell? Kiba asked drowsily. He raised his head up to realize he was covered in filth and waste. What the? Naruto. Naruto grinned and began running away from an enraged Kiba. Naruto noticed with glee that Kiba was much faster now since he had automatically reverted to running on all fours with the help of the claws. Naruto led Kiba in a merry chase all over Konoha that would have tired an average Chunin out. Naruto arrived at Choji's house and ducked as Kiba flew over him, moving too fast for him to stop. He crashed into the house with almighty bang. My breakfast. Kiba. Naruto heard Choji bellow. Choji. Not the club. Kiba screamed. Clang. Naruto watched as Kiba flew out of the window and slammed head first into an iron-plated training post. Kiba landed in a steaming heap at the foot of the post. Naruto bent down to talk with Kiba. For future reference, I like quiet mornings, Naruto said to Kiba. Kiba groaned. You're a sadistic evil bastard. Naruto grinned. I try. Choji came stomping out. He was wearing a full suit of armor and walking around easily in it. He was also shouldering the kanabo as if it was lighter than it seemed. He had an angry look on his face as his armor was stained with various food stains. Oh morning Naruto. Kiba. Get back here. Choji roared. Naruto watched as Kiba and Choji fought using mostly taijutsu. Kiba was jumping around like a beast stalking his prey. Choji waited as he mostly bore the brunt of many of Kiba's slashes with ease. Kiba dodged a powerful punch by Choji and swiped Choji's chest. The claws left little damage and Kiba had to bend his back at an unnatural angle to dodge Choji's fist. Kiba slashed with his claws and managed to cause a few cuts on Choji's arm. However, Choji grabbed Kiba's arm in a vice-like grip and slammed him down on the ground. Choji attempted to slam his kanabo into Kiba's chest but Kiba rolled away in time. Kiba's eyes widened when he saw the deep crater Choji's kanabo made. Kiba jumped back and began to run around Choji, making feints and daring slices. Choji made a mistake and attempted to hit Kiba with his kanabo. However, Choji swung at a feint. Kiba smirked as he tackled Choji hard with his shoulder. He then struck Choji's head with an elbow strike, dazing Choji. Kiba smirked in victory as he placed his claws at Choji's throat. Yield. Choji grinned and held his hands up in a non-threatening manner. You win, Kiba. Kiba and Choji turned to see Naruto and Shuza clapping at the spar. Well done, Shuza said, he smiling at the improvement of Choji's fighting ability. Naruto smirked at the well-thought-out strategy Kiba had in countering Choji's powerful strikes in defense. Using a feint to make an opening for a killing blow. It was a basic but effective strategy when facing a stronger opponent. Well done both of you, Naruto congratulated. Both of them smiled at Naruto rare compliment. Both not good enough. Now, 5 laps around Konoha before I use my sword to make you. Move it. Move it. Naruto yelled. Both genins began running. Naruto was right behind the two making sure the two don't slow down. After 5 laps, Naruto led Kiba and Choji to training ground 26. However, Sasuke and Kakashi occupied the field. Naruto's eyes widened when he recognized the jutsu Kakashi was teaching Sasuke. Kakashi-san, what are you doing on Team 7's training grounds? Naruto asked. Kakashi was honestly surprised. He had thought that the field was not occupied. Sasuke was glaring at Naruto though with his Sharingan. Sasuke made several hand seals and gathered a large amount of chakra in his hand. Lightning gathered in Sasuke's hand, covering it. Sasuke charged Naruto in hopes of stabbing Naruto. Chidori. Naruto gave Kakashi a quick glare. Naruto let Sasuke charge him until the last second. At the last second, Naruto grabbed Sasuke's arm tightly and wouldn't let it go. Sasuke watched in anger as the Chidori soon died out. Naruto grinned evilly and made a long string of one-handed hand seal with left hand. When Naruto was finished, his left hand was covered in an indigo flame. Naruto placed his left hand on top of Sasuke's eyes. Bloodline burn. Naruto roared. Kiba and Choji watched in fascination as the flame grew to bright purple. Sasuke began writhing and screaming in pain as the flame forcibly reverted his eyes back to normal. The process took several seconds as Naruto's chakra pushed out Sharingan and sealed it for a whole week. After the jutsu was finished, Naruto let him go. Sasuke stumbled back, his eyes feeling as if they were on fire and stabbed. Sasuke recklessly tried to activate the Sharingan, but the pain in his eyes became even worse. "Ah, my eyes!" Sasuke screamed. "What did you do, Naruto?" Kakashi asked worriedly. Naruto smirked maliciously. "Let's just say that if Sasuke pisses me off again, he can goodbye Sharingan." "Wait, that means," Kakashi said dumbfounded. Naruto smirked. "Sasuke's Sharingan will not work for a week. If Sasuke tries to force his Sharingan to work, there is a 50% chance that his eyes will explode. A 45% chance that he will be blind and a 5% chance that his Sharingan will work in one eye." Kakashi glanced at the writhing Sasuke on the ground. "What am I going to say to the Hokage? Tell him that Sasuke provoked Naruto Uzumaki. He'll understand," Naruto said. Kakashi nodded and picked Sasuke up. He gave Kiba a nod of recognition. "Kiba, I'm sorry I was never a good sensei for you," Kakashi said regretfully. Kiba nodded. "It's fine, Kakashi-sensei," Kiba said. Kakashi made a hand seal and shunshine to the hospital. Naruto turned to Choji and Kiba. "Now, Choji, I want you to do 50 more laps and 51 armed push-ups. After that, meditate until I get back. Kiba, come here. I am going to put weight seals on you. This will help you to become even faster and stronger." Kiba quickly stepped in front of Naruto. Naruto made several hand seals and tapped Kiba's arms, legs, and torso. Kiba immediately shuddered as he got used to 1.5x gravity strength. "Now, I want you to make a right slashes, a left slashes, a high roundhouses on each leg, and a cross slash at a training post. Do this pattern 50 times. After you are done, rest and meditate until I get back. If I find you sleeping, it's evasion training with my sword. You remember what happened to Kabuto, right?" Kiba nodded nervously. He hurried to a training post and began the combo immediately. Akamaru was beside Kiba, barking encouragement and insults at him. Naruto left the two to train. He summoned a normal-sized raven. "Katsugen, I want you to fly over Konoha and find this girl," Naruto ordered. He held up a photo of Tenten. The raven cawed and flew off. Naruto waited for several minutes before the raven began circling overhead. Naruto followed the raven to a training ground where he saw Neji and Tenten training for the finals. "Hey Neji. Hey Tenten, how are you?" Naruto said cheerfully. Neji and Tenten turned to Naruto. "Good afternoon, Naruto-san, I am well," Neji said politely. Tenten giggled when she saw Naruto's disgusted expression. "Neji, you don't have to that polite. A simple hello would do. Anyway, how are things between you and Hinata?" Tenten looked in awe as Neji smiled. "Very well. I have been teaching her in secret, however, because it is forbidden for a branch member to teach a main house member without Hiyashi's permission." Naruto smiled. He turned to Tenten. "Hey Tenten, I want to know if you would like a little Kenjutsu spar." Tenten grinned. She would finally have a challenge. Kenjutsu is not a widely practiced art in Konoha. She summoned a Jien and settled into a fighting position. She froze when Naruto frowned at her Kenjutsu stance. "What's wrong? You're using the Raging River style, right?" Tenten nodded. Naruto sighed. "Tenten, the Raging River style is not a sword style. It is meant for a naginata. The style that you are using as of now is a bastardized version of its true form." Tenten's shoulder sagged when she realized that her primary kenjutsu style was a fake. She looked up when Naruto placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. Tenten, cheer up. I was taught the Raging River style and I'll show you its true power, Naruto said. Tenten watched as Naruto summoned a guando. He settled it into a kenjutsu stance and charged into a grove of trees. Tenten watched in awe as Naruto's guando whirled, stabbed, slammed, and slashed as Naruto jumped, spun, and lunged. It was a beautiful dance of destruction. Naruto moved with the grace of a dancer while wielding the guando with masterful expertise. Naruto finished his kata and went back to the original stance. Tenten watched as tree after tree fell. The grove of forest that was recently there was gone and was replaced in aftermath of a flood. Tenten's eyes bulged in excitement. This is the true power of the Raging River, Tenten, Naruto said. It was a style for women as they move with more grace than men do. The naginata was the best weapon to use in this as the range and reach of the naginata would put you at an advantage against men using swords or axes. Tenten was jumping around in excitement, as she couldn't wait to use it. Naruto, teach me please. Naruto's sweat dropped at the energy Tenten was displaying as it reminded him of Guy and Lee. Don't worry Tenten, I'll teach you. First settle down for 2 reasons. What are the 2 reasons? 1. You can't concentrate if you are extremely hyper and eager. 2nd, you're scaring me because you're acting like Lee and Guy. Tenten immediately settled down at Naruto's words. Naruto nodded in approval. He looked over at Neji who was annoyed because he had no sparring partner. Shadow clone, Naruto said. A solid clone of Naruto appeared. Naruto pumped it with quite a bit of chakra so it would last. Neji, why don't you spar with my clone as I train Tenten? I'm pretty sure it'll be good training. Neji nodded. Naruto's clone and Neji went away to train. Soon the air was filled with shouts and words. Naruto turned back to Tenten. Tenten, I am a sword master but I am proficient in naginata enough to be able to gain this in a naginata battle. He poured chakra into his weapon scroll. When the smoke dispersed, Tenten gasped at the weapon Naruto held. It was an average-sized naginata. However, the craftsmanship was amazing. The shaft was made with red oak that gleamed in the sun. It was adorned in gold veins in the pattern of cherry blossoms. The blade was made with tempered steel that had a kanji on the blade. The kanji meant warrior. Tenten, this naginata is famous in the land of mist, whirlpool, waterfall, and wave. A very famous warrior feared among swordsmen wielded it. Try to guess the name of this warrior. Tenten shrugged. Some famous guy. A woman named Itachi Hangaku, one of the greatest samurais and non-ninjas that ever lived. Tenten sat up at this information. It was not every day she learned of a woman of great renown. She listened eagerly as Naruto explained who Itachi Hangaku was. Itachi Hangaku was the wife of a samurai. The Hangaku family was not a well-known clan. They were killed in a huge battle against the Hojo clan and their allies. However, she was well renowned because in that battle, the Hangaku family numbered 1,000 while the Hojo army numbered 10,000. Quote, the Hangaku family was slain to the last child but they killed 9,000 before they fell. Itachi won great fame for her skill with this naginata, slaying 500 and wounding many before she was killed. Tenten was quivering in excitement as she listened to the heroic story. To be able to wield the weapon of a great woman hero was a dream to her. This weapon is called Hanafubuki Danseki, cutter of the falling flowers. The blade is so sharp that falling blossoms are instantly cut when they land on the blade, Naruto explained. Naruto proved it by plucking a nearby flower and dropping it on the blade. The flower was instantly cut in half. I'm going to give you this if you promise to treat this weapon with love and that you make a name of yourself that will honor the memory of Itachi Hangaku, Naruto said seriously. Tenten nodded solemnly. I promise to train myself and make my name renowned among the ages. Naruto grinned. He handed the naginata reverently to Tenten. Tenten wielded the naginata experimentally. She swung it high and accidentally cut a thick branch above Naruto. Thud. Itai. Watch where you wield that thing, woman. Sorry, Naruto, Tenten said quickly. Naruto grinned and summoned his Gwando. Naruto went into a stance. Tenten, this is the first dance. Dance of the River Maid. Tenten copied Naruto's movements. For 3 hours, Naruto showed Tenten the basics of the Raging River style. At the end of 3 hours, Tenten was able to do the dance of the River Maid well. Good job and practice. Come to Training Ground 26 tomorrow for another lesson. I want to see that dance almost flawless tomorrow, Naruto said. Tenten nodded. Thank you, Naruto. I'll see you tomorrow. Naruto had the breath knocked out of him as Tenten hugged him tightly. He blushed as Tenten kissed his cheek. When Tenten dropped him, Naruto was as red as an apple. Naruto waved goodbye and went back to Training Ground 26. When he got there, he saw Choji and Kiba meditating. He quietly sneaked behind Choji and Kiba. However, he had a kanabo and claws pointing at him. Hey Naruto, what took you so long? Choji asked, his kanabo still pointing at Naruto. Naruto noticed that the kanabo was not shaking at all despite its massive size. Naruto grinned. Choji was ready to have some training with Zabuza. Were you at your apartment having another round against the girls? Kiba asked. Naruto smirked as Kiba was completely still for once, not a muscle shivering or trembling at all. Good. He was ready for Anko. Well guys, I have good news and bad news. Which do you want to hear first? The bad one, Choji said. Kiba nodded in agreement. I will no longer teach you, Naruto said. Choji and Kiba leapt to their feet. Why not? Choji and Kiba yelled. It's only been 2 days and I've become so much better in my battling skills, Kiba added. We still have 5 more days, Choji added. Guys, settle down, Naruto said. The reason I won't be teaching you is that I have better senseis for both of you. Choji and Kiba listened eagerly. Kiba, you will be learning from my sensei, Anko. Your style of fighting will be improved a lot when fighting a ninja as fast and elusive as her. Choji, you will be learning how to wield the kanabo under Zabuza. Although he doesn't fight with a kanabo, he does fight with a zanbato similar to the kanabo. You will definitely get stronger physically under Zabuza. Kiba and Choji nodded. Their senseis sounded like a good match for them. Still, they were a little sad that Naruto wasn't going to teach them anymore. Before that, let's have one all-out taijutsu, kenjutsu match, Naruto said. Choji and Kiba grinned. Finally, a chance to get back at Naruto. All of them settled into a fighting stance. Naruto drew his sword as Kiba unsheathed his claws and Choji hefted his kanabo. For 5 minutes, no one moved. Naruto was the first one to move. He thrusted his sword at Kiba. Itoryu. Bullet. A orb of air whistled toward Kiba. Kiba dodged it and charged Naruto. Choji used this opening to slam his kanabo to the ground. Earth wave. A shockwave traveled to the earth, knocking Naruto off his feet. Naruto rolled to avoid a stab from Kiba's claws. Naruto swung his sword at Kiba. Metsujutsu. Chakra wave. Kiba ducked as a blade of chakra soared over his head. Naruto jumped to his feet and channeled chakra to his legs. Naruto quickly kicked out at Choji. Ranyaku. Choji blocked a chakra blade that was fired from Naruto's leg. Choji was hard-pressed to block as Naruto made series of kicks at Choji. Ranyaku ran. A barrage of chakra blades flew out at Kiba and Choji. Choji stood fast and weathered the attack. Kiba used his speed to dodge the numerous chakra blades and used his momentum to start feinting and circling rapidly. Naruto was sliced by several cuts caused by Kiba. Kiba did not manage to wound Choji. However, Kiba was knocked out when Choji managed to grab Kiba, used the momentum to whirl Kiba high in the air, and slam him extremely hard on the ground. Naruto used Choji's distraction to charge Naruto. Home Run King. Naruto's eyes widened as the kanabo glowed and hummed softly due to Choji's chakra. Choji slammed the kanabo at Naruto's stomach. Naruto flew at breakneck speed and crashed hard into a tree. Naruto was dazed and barely saw Choji making a handseal. Ninpu. Partial size. Choji's arm grew larger and reached out toward him. Naruto saw Choji's fist and jumped over Choji's fist. As Choji's hand slammed into the tree, Naruto ran on the arm and kicked Choji in the head, knocking Choji out. Choji and Kiba found themselves in the hospital. They looked around to see Naruto and Haku kissing in the room. Kiba cleared his throat. Ahem, Kiba said. Haku and Naruto ignored Kiba. Ahem, Kiba said loudly. No reaction. No in the hospital, Choji shouted. Naruto and Haku jumped back, extremely red in the face. A nurse opened the door and glared at Naruto. Is there a problem here, sir? Naruto shook his head. No, ma'am. No problem here. My friend here had just read that disgusting book, Ika Ika. Naruto glared at Kiba. Kiba shuddered as killing intent rolled off the nurse. The nurse gave Kiba a disgusted look and closed the door. Choji snickered as Kiba began yelling at Naruto. Naruto and Haku watched in amusement at Kiba's rant. You done? Naruto asked. Kiba was panting like a dog for breath. He nodded. Good, you'll meet me at 9 in my apartment tomorrow. I'll introduce both of you to your new senseis. Choji and Kiba nodded. Alright, I'll see both of you tomorrow. Naruto and Haku left. They went back to the apartment. When they arrived, they saw Jiraiya in the apartment, drinking sake and giggling like crazy. Jiraiya, what are you doing here? Naruto asked. Jiraiya turned, red-faced and giggling. Hey Naruto, what's up? You will if you don't stop drinking my sake, Naruto growled. Naruto growled louder when he saw that it was sake from Wave. Jiraiya, is that my last sake bottle from Wave? Naruto asked dangerously. Maybe. Futen. Tornado fist. Jiraiya flew out of the apartment into a hot spring near Naruto's apartment. Pervert. Naruto chuckled as he heard Jiraiya's screams as the women in the hot springs beat Jiraiya up. Naruto turned back to Haku. Haku had dressed out of her kimono to more comfortable clothes. She had on one of Naruto's shirts and very short pants. Naruto nearly had a nosebleed. Haku noticed Naruto's discomfort. Naruto, are you alright? Yeah, Haku, I'm fine. Anyway, I want to ask. How are things between you and Kin? Actually, much better. It turns out we have a lot in common. We both like music, dance, and cakes. We also have the same likes in books. It's as if she was my sister. Naruto smiled. That's great. Do you know what else I found out? What? Naruto asked, interested. Haku whispered several words in Naruto's ear and giggled when Naruto turned extremely red. Wow, Kit, for someone who hates perverts, there are so many perverted images going through your head right now. I bet Jiraiya would give his left eye for this treasure trove of ideas, Kyuubi said. She whistled as she saw an extremely perverted thought go through Naruto's head. Hey brat. Naruto turned to see Zabuza. Zabuza was reading his Ika Ika novel in a manner similar to Kakashi. Haku's eye twitched at the sight of the orange book. Zabuza, why do you read that book? Naruto asked. Because I'm straight. You're accusing a guy with 2 girlfriends of being a homo. There was an awkward pause as Zabuza tried to come up with a good comeback. Your mom, Zabuza said. Ouch, that hurt, Naruto said sarcastically. He snickered when he saw Zabuza glare at him. Anyway, I want to ask you a favor, Naruto said. Go on. Could you train one of my friends for the upcoming 3rd exam? Just for 5 days. Sure. I could use the entertainment as no one will spar with me. The hospital demanded me to stop sparring with other ninjas due to so many ninjas in the ICU, Zabuza said nonchalantly. Naruto looked at Zabuza incredulously. Do you know the meaning of holding back? No. Hey Naruto. Everyone turned to see Anko entering the apartment. Hi Anko sensei, Naruto said. He saw in the corner of his eye, Zabuza hiding the Ika Ika book in his pants pocket. Hello Zabuza, Anko said neutrally. In her hand she was twirling a kunai. Zabuza began to sweat as he saw dried blood on the blade. Anko turned to Haku who was holding Naruto's hand. She grinned. So Haku, how is the numbskull treating you? Anko asked. Haku grinned and held Naruto's hand tighter. He has his mistakes but he treats me better than I expect most of the time. He cooks great food and doesn't hide secrets from me. He also comes with me when I'm clothes shopping. So he treats you well. My boyfriend Aruka treats me well also. Unlike any of the other guys I've dated, he likes me for who I am on the inside. All the other men treated me like some one-night show. Naruto blushed as Haku and Anko began comparing Aruka and Naruto. Naruto could have happily lived without hearing some of the things that Haku and Anko were saying. Hey Anko-sensei, can I ask you a favor? What is it? Could you teach Kiba Inazaka for 5 days? Just general speed and strength training, Naruto asked. Anko grinned maliciously. Sure, I'll teach him. However, you'll owe me dango. Lots of it. Great. Kiba will be here in the morning. I'll throw in some breakfast as well. Anko nodded and went back to her conversation with Haku. After several minutes, Naruto couldn't handle the gossip, so he left the apartment. Naruto went to the hospital again. He headed up to see Lee to see how he was. When he got there, Lee was asleep. Naruto grinned. He summoned a slip of paper, ink, and a brush. Naruto carefully drew up a seal that would store chakra in it. Once the seal activated, the chakra would go directly into the body. When he finished the seal, Naruto made 97 hand seals, careful not to mess up. Ninpu. Genesis Restorative. He laid his hand on the seal and began pumping a huge amount of healing chakra. This jutsu was a very cost-draining jutsu as it took half of Naruto's huge chakra reserves to complete. However, this jutsu can bring a person on the edge of death to a stable condition. After 15 minutes, Naruto was finished. He laid the paper on Lee's chest and activated it. Naruto watched as the chakra began healing his bones and even his chakra pathways. Naruto smiled briefly but stiffened as smelled dust and blood coming his way. He turned to see Gaara come into the room. Naruto eyed him cautiously. This is not the place or time to fight, Gaara. What are you doing here, Gaara of the Sand? Naruto asked. Gaara gave no answer. However, the cork on his gourd flew toward Naruto. Naruto caught it and crushed it back to sand. Naruto put a hand on his sword when he saw sand coming out from the gourd. Gaara, stop it now, Naruto ordered. Gaara gave Naruto a bloodthirsty smile. No, I shall have his blood. He was about to send sand at Lee when he saw a sword at his throat. The sword had easily stabbed through the sand and cut him lightly. Gaara, make one move and this sword will slice your head off, Naruto said softly. Uzumaki, Gaara growled. However, he pulled his sand back in his gourd. Naruto smirked and sheathed his sword. Uzumaki, I will have your blood before this exam is over. Tell Shukaku that the Kyuubi wishes a repeat of what happened 300 years ago. Gaara clutched his head as the Shukaku began screaming in fear and anger. Mother, why are you screaming? Gaara ed. Naruto glared right into Gaara's eyes. Shukaku is screaming because it knows that I have the power to make you die and be forgotten. Gaara's eyes widened. He quickly made a hand seal and teleported from the hospital. Naruto looked out the window and sighed. So many things are going to change after the third exam. Kid, I want to show you something. First thing though, I want you to follow my directions, Kyuubi said. Naruto went to the forest. He went to a sanctuary that Kyuubi had shown him. Naruto went through an area of the forest that was filled with thorns, hard rocks, poisonous insects, and large wild animals. However, he arrived in the sanctuary without much trouble. The sanctuary was a beautiful clearing. It was a wide meadow hidden by the harsh forest and terrain. In the clearing was a waterfall that was connected to a sparkling lake so clear he could clearly see the scales of the fish in the water. Naruto saw a natural shelter under the waterfall. The stones under the waterfall were covered in a strange sweet-smelling moss that was soft and springy to the touch. Overhead were strange fruits that were round and soft. Naruto picked one and tasted it. It was tangy yet smooth, sweet, and extremely juicy. Kyuubi, what is this place? It was the meditation and training area of a monk that all beings respected. Even the Biju respected this man for his kindness to all things and his simple yet profound wisdom. He was killed, however, by a ruthless man that desired power at any cost. The monk killed the man in this clearing, protecting a flower from being destroyed. At his death, the Biju swore to keep this sanctuary undisturbed and as a place for training and meditation. We set seals so that a person that truly wanted to protect and care for his or her loved ones could come here. Naruto was honored that the Kyuubi saw fit to let him use this training ground. Who else trained here? The Shadaime and Yondaime themselves. Jiraiya, a Jinchuriki named Atsui, host of the Shichibi, the demon crane. The Earth Sage, Kyoriki, and the Water Sage, Konami, trained here under the Sky Sage, Gufu. The Peasant King, Kyuman. Naruto was amazed that all of the legendary ninjas and revolutionaries trained here. He was walking to the path of greatness. He prayed in thanks to all of the heroes that were in the clearing. Kyuubi, what is this sanctuary called? Gyoen no Anshin Ritsumi. The Imperial Garden of Peace. For the next 3 hours, Kyuubi taught Naruto the secrets the Biju had held for millennia that showed Naruto the depths in human nature. Naruto did not undergo battle training but rather training on his will, determination, his mentality, and his love for all things. It was the hardest training that Naruto had to endure. He was shown things from a past life where men arose from the caves to building villages and herding livestock. Soon wars were fought. Naruto saw a battle where there were a small group of men heroically fighting against a vast horde. From there, Naruto watched as civilizations were built and rose to greatness. He saw as civilizations were burned to the ground as savage-looking men burned and pillaged the city while cheering as they watched a giant building burn to the ground. Out of this came an age of barbarism and ignorance where people lived and were ruled by the rule of a single man. He saw as great armies fight each other for a city. He saw as self-proclaimed crusaders kill and rape those that they saw inferior. After this age he watched as men grew to use their minds. He watched in astonishment as men soon learned how to fly, raise buildings bigger than a Biju, and sail on ships made of iron and larger than small islands. In this age, Naruto watched as people were slaughtered easily at the movement of a finger. He watched as armies grew as numerous as the stars above. He saw laughing people executing, crying people begging for mercy. He cried as he saw millions of people herded into encampments and died just because of where they lived and who they believed in. He watched as a lone plane drop a bomb on a city. He was shocked to see the city vaporized in a flash of light and flames. Soon more of these bombs were launched at cities, killing thousands of people in a burst of flames. However, he saw as heroes and revolutionaries rise to defend what they believed was right. He saw miracles being performed such as a whole sea split apart by a single man and a man being brutally killed yet resurrected again to spread peace. He watched as an old man taught his students to respect others. He watched as a crowd peacefully marched in the streets, singing happily as they were beaten. Naruto, this is the world before the atomic Armageddon. It was after this war that mankind spent 10,000 years in darkness before civilizations rose up again. The Biju were forbidden to interfere, but we swore to stop another war like that. It is our duty to teach people to lead and protect to prevent another war from ever happening again. This is our duty and by Kami I will complete it. Naruto nodded. He couldn't express in words the emotions that he felt. Naruto, what have you learned? To protect and respect all things equally because life is precious. We also cannot let our logic cloud our sense of humanity. And we must learn how to forgive. Kyuubi nodded in approval. Naruto was going to change the world. She prayed it would be for an age for peace and not of war. Naruto spent the next weeks meditating, training, spending time with Haku and Kin, and teaching Tenten. During this time, Haku, Kin, and Tenten noticed that Naruto had become more thoughtful, respectful, kind, and wise. Naruto also seemed to exude an aura of confidence, honesty, and strength. He seemed to cause life-changing events around people for the better. He seemed to be a god in flesh. Not one of power but one of internal strength and will that awed people. On the eve of the third exam, he went to the top of the Hokage monument and looked at the village of Konoha. He sighed. He did not want to kill but will in order to protect the innocent and weak tomorrow. So many things will change tomorrow. So many things, Naruto whispered. Nobody could have predicted the extent of change that the next day brought. Naruto woke up early. He carefully went out of the bed so as not to wake Haku or Kin up. He went to the bathroom and washed up. As he took a shower, there were so many things going through his mind. The foremost thought was if he was ready. Naruto, don't worry. I believe you are ready and I think the Hokage too, Kyuubi said. Naruto sighed, not convinced. Naruto, listen. You are more powerful than most ninjas but you already have wisdom and maturity far beyond your years. You have strong friends that believe in you. Just trust in yourself and everything will be fine. Naruto nodded. He felt much better after Kyuubi's words. Naruto quickly dried himself and changed. When he finished putting on his boxers, pants, and shoes, he went to the kitchen to eat. He heated up some leftover rice in a pan. He mixed the rice with some beef, eggs, scallions, and mixed vegetables. He added in salt, garlic, and soy sauce in the mixture making fried rice. He served some in a bowl and ate. Good morning Naruuuuuuutoo. Zabuza came flying toward the kitchen. Naruto sighed and leaned back. Zabuza slammed straight into the hard stove with a loud bang. Ooh, bright colors, Zabuza said before losing consciousness. Naruto thought about waking Zabuza up but decided not to. Naruto finished his food and went to check on Haku and Kin. By now, both girls were awake. Naruto greeted them with a cheery smile. Good morning Haku-chan, Kin-chan. Morning Naruto-kun, the girls said. I made some fried rice for breakfast. There's a lot in the kitchen. Kin and Haku went to the kitchen and ate some fried rice. As they ate, Haku and Kin wondered if Naruto was ready for today. Naruto-kun. Yes Kin-chan. Are you ready? Naruto looked at Kin and gave her a confidant smile. I am. I do not know what will happen in the next hours, but I do know that I will protect this village with all of my strength. After they finished eating, Naruto picked up his vest, jacket, and boots. He zipped his vest over his shirt, put on his trench coat full of weapons and scrolls, and tied his boots. He fastened his sword on his belt and left the apartment. He headed straight to the arena where the third exam will be held. Despite the exam being held in an hour, the arena was packed with excited spectators. The audience was full of people eager to see the match. Naruto saw a large section reserved for the daimyos and lords of fire and sand. He also saw bookies for betting. Naruto's sweat dropped when he saw Jiraiya had set up a stand for selling signed Ika Ika with a lottery for a complete works of limited platinum edition, signed books with even more content in each one. His sweat dropped even more when he saw Kakashi and Zabuza fight over a limited edition Ika Ika novel. Naruto snickered when he saw a crowd of women heading toward Jiraiya's stand armed with clubs, pitchforks, and torches. He even saw one lady with an iron pipe. He grinned when he saw Anko smiling sadistically carrying kunais with explosion notes tied to them. He quickly hid himself with a genjutsu and watched the fun. Anko began throwing her kunais into the stand, cackling with glee as men flew in the air with scorched clothes and hair. Soon the rest of the women began beating the men with various clubs, torches, and pipes while other women chased the men away with pitchforks. Naruto laughed when he saw Anko lift Zabuza and Kakashi by the ears and shake both of them vigorously. He turned and saw the rest of the women tie Jiraiya to a post and repeatedly kick him there. Ouch! Naruto whispered. The air was full of shrieks of pain and crying. Naruto left to find the other genins. He went up in the stands to find Shino meditating and Shikamaru sleeping. Naruto grinned and headed toward them. Shino. Shika. Hey guys. Naruto said excitedly. Shino and Shikamaru turned and smiled. Hey Naruto Taicho. What have you been up to this last month? Shikamaru drawled. Naruto noticed that Shikamaru had changed slightly. He wore a loose long-sleeved black shirt instead of the small vest he had on before. On the back of Shikamaru's shirt was the kanji for sleep. Naruto also noticed that Shikamaru had a quiver on his hip and had his hand on a short composite bow made of deer horn. Just been training and teaching Shika. What about you, Shino? Naruto turned to Shino to notice that he also changed. He wore a dark collared shirt and had on a hooded jacket. On his back was a gourd that was emitting a buzzing sound. I've been training on my clan's techniques Naruto Taicho as well as improving with my ninjutsu and taijutsu. I've also been learning several useful genjutsus as well, Shino said. Me too, Shikamaru said. What is with the bow and arrow? Naruto asked. Shikamaru grinned. It's used to amplify the effects of my clan's jutsu. While most use stakes or kunais, I preferred the bow and arrow. Are you a good shot? Naruto asked. Shikamaru smirked. He notched an arrow on the string and looked for a target. He found one and shot an arrow. Naruto and Shino watched as the arrow neatly arc into the air and land quivering in a melon pa bun across the arena. Nice shot, Naruto said approvingly. Shino nodded in agreement. Had to be. Sadistic father of mine kept training me. Everyone in the group looked down as the ground below them began to rumble. They stepped back and watched as Choji popped out of the ground. He shook himself to get rid of the dirt that clung onto him. He still had his armor and wore his kanabo on his back. Hey guys, how are you? Choji said. Hey Choji, what's with the huge club and armor? Shikamaru asked. Choji grinned and pulled out his kanabo from his back. You mean this? Naruto trained me for a couple of days after the preliminaries. He gave me this and suggested I wear armor. Training with Naruto really pays off, Choji said. Everyone turned when they heard a howl. They saw Kiba with Akamaru on his shoulder howling as well on the roof of the arena. He changed somewhat in that he now wore a wolf pelt with sleeves on it. He was also had a physique more like a werewolf as he had longer canines preferred to hunch over a bit. After he finished howling, he waved at Naruto, Shikamaru, Choji, and Shino. He ran on all fours toward them at a fast rate. He ran on the ceiling and skillfully flipped down towards them. Hey guys, what's up? Kiba asked. Kiba gave a grunt and straightened up. Everyone winced as they heard Kiba's bones pop and crunch loudly. Kami, doesn't that hurt Kiba? Naruto asked. Kiba shook his head. Inazakas have a strange body capability as we are able to arrange our shoulder blades and spine to a more animal-like structure. While many have to use a hand seal, I learned how to do it subconsciously. Suddenly, Choji and Kiba slugged Naruto hard. Naruto fell down hard. He stood up and glared at the two of them. What the was that for? Naruto yelled. Shino and Shikamaru were curious as well. That's for giving us the devil for our sensei. Choji and Kiba yelled back. Do you know what he did to me? Choji and Kiba roared. He sent a storm of chakra blades with that sword of his. Choji shouted. She sent gigantic snakes to hunt me in that goddamn forest. He made me stand on a 10-foot pole and dodge spears while wearing 100 pounds. She placed explosion notes all around me and told me to dodge as she threw kunais at me. He nearly killed me. Choji and Kiba roared. Naruto glared at the two. Do you know what my sensei did? What? Kiba asked, still angry at Naruto. He made me run hundreds of laps around Konoha with 1,000 pounds on my back while shooting acid-tipped arrows every morning. Then he made me carry him, still with 1,000 pounds on my back, around Konoha to catcall at every lady in Konoha. After avoiding their weapons, he sparred against me with his kanabo. He always broke at least several bones each day training him. I spent every night in the hospital for his week of training, Naruto said. Now are you happy with Zabuza and Anko or do you want to switch? We're happy, Kiba and Choji said quickly. A naginata flew in the middle of the group, stabbing the ground. Tenten appeared balancing easily on the butt of the naginata. She wore mainly the same clothing except that she had a large scroll in the back of her belt. She also had a bracelet that had a kanji for flame her bicep. She jumped off the naginata gracefully and smiled. Hey Naruto, aren't you going to introduce me? Tenten said. Naruto rubbed the back of his head. Hey guys, this is Tenten. I trained her for most of the month on my spare time. He turned to Tenten. Did you manage to master most of the techniques and exercises in the scroll? Tenten nodded. I spent so much time training that I managed to master them all. Kami Naruto. You already have 2 girlfriends. Do you need any more? Kiba said. Naruto and Tenten blushed heavily and looked away. Shino and Shikamaru turned to Kiba. What do you mean by 2 girlfriends? He only has one named Haku, Shino said. Kiba snickered. Nope. He also hooked up with that sound chick ya captured in the forest, Kin. This is interesting, Shikamaru said and glanced at Naruto. Naruto glared at Kiba. Stay out of my private life, Kiba. Naruto placed a hand on his sword. Kiba shuddered. He still remembered what had happened to Kabuto. Yes, sir, Kiba said meekly. Choji chuckled at Kiba's obedience. Yar, this is a lively meeting. Everyone turned to see a smiling Neji. He waved cheerfully at the group. Choji glared and tightened his grip on the kanabo. Hey, aren't you that angst guy that nearly killed Hinata and got skewered by Naruto's sword? Kiba asked. Naruto, Tenten, and Shikamaru slapped their faces at Kiba's bluntness. Neji nodded, with a regretful look on his face. Yes. However, at the hospital, Naruto showed me how wrong I was. I soon patched things between Hinata and myself thanks to Naruto. Now I help Hinata train in the Byakugan and develop her own style. Her own style? Naruto asked curious. Neji nodded. Hinata does not have as much strength as I do, but she is much faster and more flexible than me. She currently is developing a style called 64 Protection Palms. I nearly lost to her with that style. Will all finalists please go to the arena floor? The 3rd exam will begin shortly. Naruto smirked. He leapt over the railing and jumped down to the arena floor. Shikamaru, Shino, Kiba, Tenten, and Neji followed him. Choji opted to jump back into his hole and pop out on the arena floor. They walked to where a Junin was waiting. He was chewing a Senbon and was waiting for the Genins. Naruto and the other Konoha Genins stood beside the Junin and looked at the crowd. Naruto glanced at his side to see Gaara glaring at him with Temari looking at his curiously. Naruto looked up and saw the Kazekage greet the Hokage up in the Hokage's box. After exchanging a few words with the Kazekage, the Hokage stood up. Thank you everyone for coming to the Hidden Leaf Chunin exams, the Hokage announced loudly to the crowd. We will start the tournament between the 10 participants who made it through the preliminaries. Please stay and watch until the end. The Hokage said. The Kazekage glanced at the Hokage. There seems to be one missing. The Uchiha. Down at the arena, the Junin explained the rules. The rules to this exam are the same as the preliminaries. You fight until you or your opponent dies or admits defeat. However, if I deem the match is over, I'll step in and stop it. Now the first match will be Tenten vs. Naruto Uzumaki. Everyone else may watch the match in the stands or in the waiting room. Naruto and Tenten waved as their friends wished them luck. They watched as the other Genins went to a corridor that led to the waiting room. Naruto gave Tenten a quick smile. She smiled one in return. Now, just because I'm your friend, I don't want you to hold back. Okay, Tenten, Naruto said. Tenten nodded. And I don't want you to hold back because I'm a woman. Not yet, Naruto teased playfully. Tenten gave him a stern look and smirked. Now the first match begin. Tenten jumped back and opened her scroll. She summoned several kunais and shurikens and threw them at Naruto. Naruto drew his sword and deflected or dodged all of them. When he finished, he thrusted his sword at Tenten. Itoryu. Bullet. Tenten ducked as an orb of air slammed into the wall behind her with great force. She summoned 5 large shurikens and skillfully threw all of them at Naruto. Naruto channeled chakra in his sword and swung it at the shurikens. The sword cut through the shurikens easily like a hot knife through butter. Naruto channeled more chakra in his sword and swung it repeatedly at Tenten's direction. Metsujutsu. Chaos Wave. Tenten ducked, jumped, and dodged as Naruto sent several chakra blades at her. Tenten grinned when she dodged the last one. She summoned a long bow and several arrows. With great expertise, she sent all of them at Naruto. The arrows sped at Naruto faster than Naruto expected. He channeled chakra throughout his body and covered his eyes. Tekai. Naruto grunted. Tenten watched in surprise at the arrows hit Naruto squarely but didn't pierce. They made a loud ding when they impacted against Naruto. What the? That's impossible. Those arrows can pierce an iron plate at 150 yards. Why are you still uninjured? Tenten asked aloud. Naruto put his hands down and grinned at Tenten. It's a jutsu my sensei taught me called Tekai, iron release. It allows my body to have the hardness of tempered steel. Ranyaku. Naruto kicked out at Tenten. Tenten managed to duck the chakra blade that flew at her. Tenten shook out of her stupor, took out 2 scrolls and summoned a great number of weapons, all of them attached to explosive notes, from her scroll. She then attached them with chakra strings to her fingers. Tenten smirked and sent a hail of weapons at him. Twin rising dragons. A huge storm of weapons and explosive notes flew toward Naruto faster than the arrow. Tekai go. Naruto covered his eyes as weapon after weapon struck him and explosion note after explosion note blew up against him. He waited until the attack stopped. Tenten coughed at the smoke that came from all the explosion notes. She squinted as she tried to find Naruto's body in the smoke. Futen. Lion's roar. A huge vortex of air blew out of the smokescreen and slamming into Tenten. She crashed hard into the wall and winced as shockwaves within the air vortex slammed into her repeatedly. Tenten slumped to the ground when the attack was finished. She quickly popped a special energy pill Guy had given to her. The energy pill was much stronger than a regular soldier's pill. Her eyes widened as she felt her chakra reserves full to the brim. She jumped up on her feet, placed a bleeding digit on her bracelet. Naruto analyzed the weapon that Tenten had just summoned. It was a 3 feet long blowgun with seals carved on the tube. Tenten made several hand seals for a fire jutsu and placed the blowgun to her mouth. Kaden. Great fireball. Naruto watched as a fireball 20 feet in diameter shot out from Tenten. He dodged the fireball and watched as the fireball exploded. Tenten grinned and waved her blowgun. What do you think, Naruto? This blowgun I created can amplify fire jutsus by 300 by adding gas and pressurized air, thanks to the seals. Naruto grinned. I could use one of those. Up in the stands, many of the shinobis silently agreed with Naruto's statement. Tenten grinned. Kaden. Flamethrower. A huge stream of fire shot toward Naruto. Naruto didn't dodge and let the flames hit him squarely. Tenten looked in horror as she saw Naruto being hit squarely by the fire. She watched though as Naruto waved cheerily at Tenten and began scooping fire with his bare hands. Everyone's mouths in the stadium dropped when they Naruto eating the fire off of him. Naruto ate and ate until he had eaten every ember off of him. Burp. Man, that's some greasy fire. Naruto said. Tastes like teriyaki chicken though. Tenten nodded. Sorry about that. I ate some teriyaki before the ma. Wait a minute. What the hell was that? Naruto winked. That's my little secret. Tenten.